Good morning. Welcome to Sacred Enzyme. Hope everybody's doing well today. So I'm just going to wait a minute or two to see if anyone wants to pop in the chat. In the meantime, I'll change my glasses so I can see. Can't see anything here. So today is the first day that we start our Daniel fast. And I'm having a cup of unsweetened hibiscus and sorrel tea this morning. Good for your blood. Got to go to the honey house this morning and get some fresh honey. I'm going to run and get a book, and I'll be right back. Excuse me, Dutch. Let's see which one is which, right? Okay, here we go. So I'll just go ahead and get started, and people can pop in as they like. So yesterday I had a super interesting day. We've had freezing weather here in Florida, and I'm sure that everybody is kind of in the same boat as I am. They're waiting to see what plants actually survived. And I'm not sure if I've shared this or not, but I have an orchard that I've progressively put on my property over the last 10 years of living here. When I first moved here, we had no landscaping whatsoever. We had just a yard with grass and 2 palm trees, and I think it was 2 or 3 old rose bushes. And so I built a habitat here. And then, I think it was about 2018, is my grandmother really started coming to me a lot in my dream space, telling me, you got to get ready. You got to start preparing to plant a whole orchard of evergreens, different kinds of evergreen fruiting trees. And that was going to be important for the future. And so that's what I did. And then I would have times after that where I'd have some kind of beings that would come and take me out in my yard, and they'd show me all along the tree line, and they told me to plant beans and things there. And then it was starting the heirloom seed bank. It was just a series of things. But I have probably about 40 different kinds of fruit trees on my property. And it was quite an interesting situation, having to wrap all these things up and try to protect all of my habitat that was in my yard. And I had said last week or so that I knew something was going on because the monarch caterpillars didn't migrate back to Mexico. And despite the fact that I have a really big habitat for them, it's uncommon for them to be here in February. So yesterday I went to my friends. I have a couple of friends that I've known since I was a child, and they own a landscaping business. And I went yesterday to see if I could buy some lava rock, because I want to do this Kratky method where you grow your stuff hydroponically. And so I was trying to do that in, layman's terms, I guess you would say, no expensive setup. And when I went there, my friend, he was like, you got to go check this guy's hydroponic farm out. It's right down the road from you. And I was like, really? I've never heard of it. He said, well, it was a blueberry farm. So I went down there, and the couple that owned that were nice enough to give me a tour of his hydroponic farm. And after I got to talking to him, he said, "Let me go get you my book." So he gave me his book to read, and it's his story of how he got to where he is. And the super interesting thing about it is that he told me that, well, first of all, he's German, he's Austrian. And so he told me a little bit about his life, and he's traveled like all over the world, and he's had a lot of different contracts, and he's also been a professor. But his name is Herbert Frauwallner. And I have to take this book back because it's his last copy, but I already read it. And he has a really interesting story. His is a lot like mine. You know, he had a health wake-up call when he lost his spouse. And, I had the same wake-up call after I had my twins, because I was like, I can't be like this because I don't feel well, and I have 2 little babies I got to take care of. So, that's when I started addressing my weight and my health. And then I kind of had a lot of problems after that too. But when my brothers passed away, that's when it really amped up, because after my second brother passed away, they both passed away back to back. And after my second brother passed away, he started coming to me a lot. He was talking about enzymes and all this other stuff, and how our bodies don't process things because of our enzymes, and that certain bloodlines have markers that cause you to be predispositioned for problems. And so then I really started digging into everything. So I read his book, but one of the things that he told me yesterday was that he got approached by NASA, and they want him to teach them how to grow hydroponically off world. I said, "Oh, Herbert, you're going to Mars. You're going to Mars." And I just thought it was really exciting that, he has this setup, and I want to interview him for the channel, for the other channel that I set up, Returning to Our Roots. And so Herbert is a super interesting guy, and he has these huge setups that he built himself, and he's the same age as my dad. Actually, my dad's 1 year older than him. So my dad was born in 1941. He was born in 1942. But he talks about these different teas that he makes. And it's kind of the same concept that I do with my soap. So this morning, I'm going to return his book because I read it. And I'm going to take him and his wife, his new wife. He got remarried, and which is really wonderful because he met someone that shared his passion, right? And is here to help him and support him on his divine purpose. And that is growing healthy food without pesticides. And we had a big conversation yesterday, because he was like, "You're not going to be able to grow food like this here because it's too hot." So anyway, I'm going to take him and his wife a couple bars of my homemade soap. He at one time was taking, he's had like 30 instances of melanoma. And so I thought, that's interesting. And he was on 22 different kinds of medicine at one time. I mean, I can totally relate to this. I'm thinking, Herbert's probably in the programs, right? So I'm going to take him a bar of my saw palmetto soap, which I harvested these palmetto berries myself. I dehydrated them, ground them into a powder, infused them into an oil. And then I made a compound oil with dehydrated banana peels that I turned into powder. If you're making soap, if you like making homemade soap, it's wonderful to dehydrate fruits and vegetables, powder them down, and add them to your soap. So banana peels, the interesting thing that does to soap is, if you're using an ingredient that has a lot of health benefits but doesn't really smell good, you can use banana peels, and it really changes the smell of the soap for the better. It tampers down really obnoxious smells. Also helps round out smells, and it adds a lot of nourishment to the bar. We have to remember that our skin is the biggest organ on our body. And what we're putting in our skin goes into our body. So when you're having nanoparticles sprayed on you, they're going right through your skin. So you always need to be preparing your skin. And one of the things is using nourishing soaps not full of toxic chemicals. And so this is one of the reasons that I started making soap. I started making soap so we could put vitamins in through our skin, healthy vitamins. So I'm going to give his wife a bar of my lime and coconut. I have all kind of good things in here. It's coconut milk and essential lime oil. And always use, if you're using essential oils, always, good morning, always use good quality food grade essential oils and make sure that you're sourcing them properly. And that's like the biggest financial part of making soap is putting the good quality essential oils in them. So I'm going to take her a bar of my coconut milk and lime bar that I made when I collected rainwater during Lionsgate Portal back in August. I blessed the water. I filtered it with sacred charcoal. And then I infused it with all kind of dehydrated flowers from my yard. I grow roses, plumerias. I have almond bush. So I infused my Lionsgate Portal water with the dried flowers. And so I used that water and I charged it on several moons and celestial events that we had after that to really give it energy. And so I used that to make quite a few soaps, and it really smells amazing. So I'm going to take my soap this morning when I return the book, and kind of share with them what I've been doing to try to help humanity. And maybe, he can teach me some things about hydroponic gardening. And I'd love to be able to do a video of him and let him tell his life story, because he is super fascinating guy. So, I mean, that's pretty interesting that a hydroponic farmer would be approached by NASA to grow food off world. So it's pretty interesting. So today is the day. Today is the day that we start our Daniel fast. Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm ready. I started today. I'm thinking, man, I'm going to miss caffeine. But you know what? Just a small price to pay to bring good energy, So today is the 3rd, and we get 2 weeks to see what's going to go down. But a lot of stuff is happening right now all over the world. A lot of stuff coming out. I mean, we got the Epstein file dumps, right? A lot of people not looking too good. But we already knew this, right? We already knew. We already knew that there were going to be people in there. It's going to be a shock. It wasn't a shock to me because, when you realize that all of them are completely corrupt, it's just you take it, right on the cheek. I mean, the stuff that these people have been doing and they've been allowed to do all this time, it's got to stop. It's got to stop. So how are you? Are you doing all right today? Did you start the Daniel fast? Is there anything particular that you'd like to talk about today? Awesome. Thank you. The more people that we can get doing it, we can really make a big energetic difference, I sent it to some of my family members too. My mom's sister, she's very spiritual. And she's been being spiritually attacked for a long time. And I have her using my soap too, but I hope that she does it because she's extremely powerful, clairvoyant. My mom and her sister. The menu list, I put it on the channel on the community. I have a list there of an outline of it. I mean, any fruits and vegetables are good. Very, very light on the dairy, no heavy dairy, no heavy cheese. But, we're not trying to starve ourselves to death, but we are trying to enrich the pineal gland. So some fats are required. Like we'll do fish this Friday and next Friday because fish is really good for the brain with the omega-3s. And so I put it on there. And then there's also a food blessing that we should do before every meal to show gratitude. Just tuning the vibrational space. So I can read the list out loud. That way we can put it on the channel. So yeah, my aunt said that she would love to do it. She's got to go shopping, which, you know. So let me tell you what the list is. It's on the community. And okay, here we go. Okay, so I put it on there 9 days ago. That was probably when we had the last live event. Okay, for some reason, this thing always switches everything around on your feed and doesn't keep it in order. Okay, so sure. So this is a biblically inspired Daniel fast, gently adapted to support melatonin, nervous system repair, and sustainable rhythm. Vegetables to eat and water to drink. Daniel 1:12. With intentional allowances, not indulgence. So these are the foundational foods that you can eat freely. Vegetables, especially cooked and especially in the evening time, go for the vegetables. Broccoli, zucchini, yellow squash, carrot, celery, onion, garlic, spinach, kale, cabbage, sweet potatoes, pumpkins, and winter squashes and beets. Cooked vegetables in the evening will help calm the nervous system and support sleep. So grains and beans, these are simple and grounding, but also this fiber is really important because what fiber does is it helps attach to the things that need to be excreted out of the body, like all of the spray. And I don't know if any of y'all have noticed that since the government hasn't been working, you can go right outside and see that there's not one single cloud in the sky. I'm like, yeah, shut the government down. They're just trying to bring in martial law. Tell you what, this is what they're trying to do. They like to create a problem and then try to give you a solution. But it's all just inching us forward to their end game, which is enacting martial law, setting up the government with AI, bringing in the military into these cities to control the immigrants and all this nonsense. This is all just a big play. Okay, so the grains attached to those nanoparticles that have been sprayed all over us, and magnesium and zinc are two really important supplements when you're trying to get rid of this crap out of your body. So rolled oats or steel cut oats. Don't use instant oats. Brown rice, quinoa, lentils, chickpeas, black beans. These are all good fiber foods. So melatonin supporting foods. They contain melatonin or help the body produce it. These are oats, bananas, tart cherries or unsweetened tart cherry juice in small amounts, walnuts, almonds, pumpkin seed, sunflower seeds, lentils, and chickpeas. So these support serotonin plus melatonin, the pathway. So light amounts of dairy. So be intentional. It's not a free-for-all. It's just gentle support because we don't want to cut out all of our dairy because you know babies drink milk, but it helps relax you. So 2% milk in small amounts, evaporated milk, just like a splash, you know, to put in your soup. I've made a couple soups that I made one that has curry in it, and it was I used a squash, and then I kind of cleaned out my refrigerator with vegetables. I put celery, onion, a couple tomatoes in it, some jalapenos that I seeded, took the veins out, and then I had some those little small colored peppers. So I just took all that, threw it on a sheet pan, roasted it in the oven, and then I bloomed curry powder, cumin, and the spicy paprika, and just a little pat of butter in there, and then better than broth or better than bouillon in a jar. They make a no chicken base, which tastes just like chicken but has no chicken in it, and they make a no beef base. And so I use that, and you can leave it chunky, or you can add coconut milk to it. But I wish I wouldn't have put the coconut milk in the end, because it was so spicy and yummy, and I've been like fighting this cold that, this pandemic, and I've been taking care of my parents. So I've been trying to fight off this cold, and it tasted so good. So I blended it up and I put it in my freezer for today. So I'm going to take that out and defrost it. But, soups are a really good way that, especially if you can make them up ahead of time, then you're not in there looking for something to eat and you're absolutely starving. Because when you take blood out of your diet, you'll just practically stay hungry. When I was a vegetarian for a year, I was hungry nonstop. I could never get enough to eat. So we're going to avoid strong or aged cheeses, heavy cream, and sweetened dairy. So tryptophan and cortisol reduction is especially helpful in the evening. So we're not going to have any yeast. So we can have unleavened bread, flatbread, matzo, simple tortillas. If you know how to make tortillas, they're not that hard. And homemade skillet bread, but no rise, no yeast. So that's really good if you want to pair it with like soup or lentils. So then on Friday, we're going to do fish, and the fish options are salmon, whitefish, cod, haddock, or flounder, or any whitefish, sardines, and tilapia. So baked, steamed, or lightly pan cooked in olive oil, garlic, herbs, lemons. So no breading, no frying, no heavy sauces. So this keeps us sustained through this fast, because you will be a little hungry. But when you do have fish, you'll feel the energy of that fish, like right when you eat it, and make you feel good. So the healthy fats in small amounts: olive oil, coconut oil, avocado, and then our drinks: water, warm water, herbal tea, chamomile, lemon balm, passion flower. So no caffeine, no alcohol, no soda. We're avoiding meat except for our Friday fish, eggs, strong cheeses, sugar and sweets, chocolate, caffeine, and anything processed. So these interfere with melatonin and REM repair. So we want to avoid that. So the last meal before sunset or 3 hours before bed, warm cooked foods at night, low light after sunset, and no late night snacking. So Daniel foods plus melatonin support plus light dairy plus optimal unleavened bread. So this fast is about nervous system healing, sleep restoration, spiritual clarity, simplicity, rhythm, and devotion. So this is not a restricted diet. This is an alignment diet. So we can do this for 2 weeks. And you know what? You may feel so good at the end of 2 weeks, you may decide to stay on it. But it's going to be so super important for what's coming that we're all having a clear mind and a clear vessel, because we definitely got to hold on to the red thread. And, I ran across the other day that there's a man named Chris Bledsoe, and he talks about he calls her the lady that comes to him, but she drives a ship. So I'm not sure. I've never seen the primordial mother in a ship. I always bilocate to where she's at, or she bilocates me to where she's at. But he put forth a prediction of February 19th that she communicated to him February 19th. I got the 17th, but it's what's a couple days. So, that's kind of confirmation that some really major stuff is happening. And then the monks are ending their walk. They're ending their walk in like a week or so. And, it's so important that they get to DC, because, they're doing ley line and energy line repair. This is what this monks are all about. And all these people are coming out. Now, I did have an astral experience the other night where we were like marching to Capitol Hill. So I was like, whoa. So yes, even if we're supporting the monks, we can't be there physically. We can be there spiritually. And so I've been following this walk that they've been doing and really staying heart centered with them. I mean, I'm really grateful that they're doing this for humanity. Obviously they get the memo. So, is there any questions this morning? You're headed later to the farmers market. Yay. Yeah, I'm super excited about talking to Herbert here. Herbert, he's an old guy. And what was really interesting is that he's Austrian and he has a really thick German accent. And he has the same color eyes as my dad. My dad has these really unusual gray eyes. And they're like this milky gray color, very hard to describe. He has the same color eyes. I have never, ever, ever seen anybody that had the same color eyes as my dad. And I looked at him yesterday. I said, "Oh my goodness, you have the same color eyes as my dad." I have never seen that before. So there's something about this guy, this gentleman, that I've got to know more about him, because I was divinely inspired yesterday to go to my friend's nursery. Well, it's not a plant nursery, it's a landscaping business, and they sell it in bulk. But sometimes my brother will come and nudge me on the shoulder and he'll say, go to the Brits, go see the Brits. So I'll load up and go. And my friend, he's on his third round of trying to fight cancer. He's already had one of his kidneys removed. And I've been telling him, you got to try anti-parasites. You got to try anti-parasites. So when I went yesterday, he wasn't there, but there was one of the guys that works there. He was there. And when he took my bucket of lava rocks and put them in my car, he saw my walking stick that has the carved wolf head on it. And he was like, "Where did you get this? I love this." And, I was thinking, wolf coding. This guy's he's a 13th archetype. He really wanted to talk to me and stuff too. And my friend, he was coming back in. I was like, "There you are." I said, "I just got done saying that I really wish that I could have saw you today." I said, "Talk about getting your wishes granted." And he told me that he just came from the doctor and he is totally free of cancer. And I said, he was like, "Yes, I am." He took out his little thing, took the lid off. He's like, "Here's my 2 binders, and this is ivermectin." And I said, "See, I told you this stuff works. If my brother had taken those anti-parasites that I'd ordered him, he'd probably still be alive today." But, he listened to what his doctor said. And he said, "Should I tell my doctor that I'm taking this?" And I said, "Fuck no, don't tell him. They don't want you to get better. They want you to stay sick. A sick customer is a good customer, right?" So you had a dream, and there was a basket with letters, and the address as sender had Washington, D.C. Wow. Yeah. Did you order the gold nanoparticles? The monatomic gold? Anti-parasites, the stuff that you give dogs, dog dewormer, fenbenzanol, and ivermectin. Those are anti-parasites. We've been loaded full of parasites, and it's by design. And it happened a long time ago, which is interesting that we're having this conversation right now, because this morning I had to turn my TV on, and one of the things is the same video pops up intermittently. It talks about excavations that they've done at Hallstatt and how they dug up all these bodies there. They were salt mining there. And a couple interesting things about that is I called, I seen that they had pulled bodies out of the ground, and when they tested them, they had parasites. But the other thing is that they were mining salt. So they were mining salt when the same time that they were mining that natural copper, because they had to save their food, right? Because they had total reset. They all had to start over. So they had nothing. So they had to bang rocks together, right? Can you imagine trying to kill dinner, trying to kill an animal with a rock, right? They're probably sitting around the fire and saying, "Yo, something's got to give here. Something's got to give. Y'all either need to get the sprinter's gene where you can run fast, or we got to figure something out." So they started looking for natural copper so they can make arrowheads, right? But the other thing is that there wasn't much wood left. So this is why at these archaeological sites they keep finding all these pig bones, is because they were burning pig fat for fuel and warmth. And you can use pig skin for a lot of purposes. A lot of purposes. You can make like, water bottles out of them. You can make all kind of stuff. Clothes. I mean, that stuff is tough as nails. So I called. I have to order, but need a consultation. Well, there's. Are you talking about for the monatomic gold? You can order it off of Amazon, and you only need like so many drops of it. It tells you exactly how much to use for a dietary supplement. But wait till you try it, because you will be all over an astral. I mean, it really wakes you up. I can understand why they were doing gold powder in the old days, because it totally puts you in astral. And so, and being able to lucid dream is really important, because you're going to start having so many astral experiences that you want to be able to have control over it. So just doing the figure eights, with the sound bath will be really helpful. And if you haven't seen that video, I try to do a little tutorial on how to do it. Listen to a solar plexus healing sound bath, and try to do like a half an hour. And that'd be something good to do before bed, like an hour or two before bed. And doing the figure eights with your chakra energy points. You use the visualization technique. Of course, ground yourself and ask the primordial mother to give you a protection shield, and then visualize it just swirling around you like a cyclone. And you could just bring it up. And after you start practicing, oh, good. So yeah, I make some plumeria soap that is infused with magnesium, and I give that to people that are really needing that extra boost of magnesium, because it's a soap that's not really, it doesn't have a big lather on it. It's a magnesium infused bar, so you can put it through your skin. So yeah, a lot of people are magnesium depleted, and the stuff that the nickel that strips out your magnesium. And when you astral travel a lot, you feel like you're just constantly parched. Very good. So why did they tell you need a consultation to have the monatomic gold? Did you order it from your doctor? Oh, okay. Yeah, I ended up getting a different brand this time than I normally do. Oh, so that's really interesting that they're requiring a consult to do the monatomic gold. Really strange, isn't it? Well, people are catching on to this kind of stuff, right? And just like all the stuff with what our government's doing now, that they got this whole list of what they call offenses, and they're going and knocking on people's doors and talking to them about stuff they're putting on social media. I mean, talk about the balls. I seen this video on YouTube the other day where this guy in Miami had 2 FBI agents and a sheriff show up at his door about some kind of post he made on Facebook or something like that. And he basically told him to get off his fucking property. And, they were really irritated. You could tell they were irritated. And you know how these cops have these big egos? Well, the one cop whipped out his little, how they carry that stupid little notepad. Well, he wrote down the guy's tag number, and I thought, oh yeah, they're going to target the shit out of this guy. It's just a damn shame what's happening to our country. It is so crazy what's going on right now. And then I've went back and I've been digging apart my family members, the Randolph family members, because, they started Continental Congress and they knew what was happening. And I found out from another content creator that is really, really deep into French and French. The game stalking is insane. The French people that were here, because, the French were with the Berbers, and they were here in the United States long before all these people started coming over here. And what they call Native Americans is probably Berbers. They were French Berbers. And I kept trying to put two and two together because I have a grandmother that's Black and I have a grandfather that's French. And she came from Ghana, the Ivory Coast. And I kept thinking, okay, something's not right here because, France never had slavery. And Sally Hemings, she was a companion to Thomas Jefferson. She wasn't just a slave. She was his woman. And they had a bunch of kids. But he would take her to France because he was an ambassador to France. And they didn't have slavery in France. So she was a free woman there. And she would elect to come back to Virginia with Thomas. She could have stayed there and been free. So it just goes to show you that our history is a lie. And the other thing is that they had all these slavery laws and they were tied up into the property and inheritance and all this stuff. You just couldn't let your slaves go. There was people, we already had the cabal here. And that was the whole point of the Louisiana Purchase, is what I'm learning, is that it was sold to America when my family was in office because they were trying to keep the cabal from getting Louisiana. So this stuff has been going on for a while. But John Randolph of Roanoke, he was opposed to the banking institutions. It's right before the Civil War. And he was also opposed to slavery. And when he died, he willed all his slaves a whole city in Ohio called Pequot. And let me tell you, those people had to fight tooth and nail to keep that. But the cabal was already here. And the whole reason behind Louisiana Purchase was to keep it out of their hands. The French, that's what the French were doing. Lafayette was a really close friend of Thomas Jefferson. And the other interesting thing that I found out was there was this land deal that happened in Georgia, and it was called the Yazoo Land Deal. And it was an illegal land transaction that was done by the governor of Georgia at the time. And John Randolph of Roanoke wanted to put this guy in prison because it was an illegal land deal. And this governor, with a couple other people, they sold parts of Georgia, Alabama, and a couple other portions of other states illegally. And so this is why my family had to go. They were all murdered. I'm pretty sure all of them were murdered. Peyton Randolph was poisoned. And I think that he was poisoned at the Apollo Lounge. They had two lounges that they were having Continental Congress, the Burgesses. They were meeting at these places because King James sent over this guy named Lord Dudley, who's a distant cousin of the Randolphs, over to deal with Peyton because he wasn't stepping to toe. And they were like, we're doing our own thing here. Y'all can piss off, basically. So he came over and he said, you guys can't meet here anymore. So he tried to shut the whole Continental Congress down. So they just ignored him and they just started meeting at taverns and go behind his back. So I'm sure that he was really upset about that. But it was just a bunch of other things. They weren't going for government. They were going for state rights. And, even back then they were trying to take away everybody's guns. And, if you are a gun owner, stay that way. Stay that way because you're going to need it to protect yourself. We don't have those amendments for no reason, and people has got to wake up. Yes, I believe that the Moors were the Aboriginals of America. Yes, I do. Louisiana, Anna was the queen or the leader of the indigenous people that were here. And Louis was King Louis. Louisiana. Louis plus Anna. So yeah, the French were here. And this is why the French had everything here. It's because they had a partnership with the Aboriginal people here. Yeah. So, oh yeah. And this is why when a lot of people do their ancestry, they have lines of their family that are dead ends and roadblocks. And I've run into quite a bit of that on my mom's mother's side because I've been trying to trace this African connection. And it still shows up on my mom's DNA, even though it's not showing up on mine. It's still showing up on my mom's, but that was from my grandmother. It was through her French line. And my grandmother has German and French. See, we got these old German lines too, right? You've got a few groups that are really, really old. You've got these old Hebrew German lines, like Yiddish is what they called them, Yiddish. And they spoke a form of like a high Hebrew German type language. And then you had the French. Well, I don't think that they're African, because the Berber people are around the Mediterranean basin. See, they were all around the Mediterranean basin. And the other interesting thing is that a lot of what they'd call pirates were Moors. And when the Spanish came over here as their conquistadors to take over the United States, the Moors, the Berbers, they were running interference on the coastlines. And so they were calling them pirates, but they were just trying to keep them from taking all their shit. They came over here and started stealing all their shit. They were taking their gold, and these people were extremely wealthy. Well, the original people are what you would call, where they have the heads that are in South America and they look Polynesian. They were a type of tribe, and they were melanated. So yeah, like I call it the primordial mother's children, or 13th archetype. They were all melanated. And then it was like, it's like nighttime mama, she was dark haired, dark eyed. And these were the original peoples, and then you had these other groups. Well, you're blend. Like most of us are just blended now, right? You've got German genetics in South America. You've got dark genetics. I call it the mother. The mother stamp is always dark hair, dark eyes, dark skin, and even this other content creator that I've been talking to, he was like, I looked at your thumbnail and I could tell, when I looked at your picture, I could tell you were melanated. I'm like, yeah, a lot of people to pick up on the fact that I'm really mixed. Like, I'm a mixed bag. I got all kind of stuff in my bloodline. But, my family a long time ago, they knew. And I actually do think that I had Black family members in the Randolphs, because there's a grandmother who actually I think was me in another timeline. And they called her Black Agnes, Black Agnes Randolph. No, they're not $5. They're not $5 imports. It's just that, what's happened is that there's such a bad taste in many African people's mouths, because they've been shat on and stomped on, that the programming just goes in overdrive, and it just creates this incredible chip on the shoulder, and it's so hard to get out of that mindset, that I'm being oppressed, at this and that. But you have to look at, why would they want to oppress me? There must be something pretty special about me if they're trying to eliminate me, Yeah, it's all programming. If you can keep a certain group of people in a hostile sense, or a constant survival sense, then they can loose harvest them. People got to be way smarter than allowing themselves to be manipulated into being emotional. And, a lot of African women are very emotionally charged. They carry a lot of emotion. And so what better way to harvest one of Mother's primordial streams than to take these very emotionally charged people and wind them up. They're loosh harvesting them, just like the reptilians like to do to people. They love to loosh harvest, man. They will keep you so upset. They'll terrorize you. They'll go on and on and on with you, because, it's an energy food for them. And we got to stop falling for that trap. It's like, sometimes I'll get upset and I got to stop me right there, because I'm like, you're not doing this to me. I see what you're doing. Like, they try to keep us in a constant state of upset. This is what they're doing with the government right now, with ICE and all this stuff. I mean, how do we even know that they're not sending these protesters in, right? That it's all production? Because I would probably want to bet that that's exactly what it is. Just like these church shootings and stuff. These are characters. These are character actors. And it's just to get people upset, have people fighting. I mean, if you go on Facebook, it's like a cesspool of people fighting on there. Somebody telling me, prove it to me about, Trump. I'm like, I don't need to prove shit to you. It's all over the internet. Go read it yourself. I don't have to prove anything to you. Obviously you're laughing now, but you're going to be crying later. Is the way I look at it. These people can't wake up. They're just non-playing characters. They're just non-playing characters. And how much of the internet is actually people anymore? You see these content creators that have like millions of people. I really kind of believe that we do have a slightly dead internet, and that more than 50 or 60% of the activity on there is AI generated. It's to keep dialogues and emotions running for loosh harvesting. It is central casting, and no doubt is, and he's an actor himself. He's an actor. My dog is sitting here wanting to go out. Oh my gosh, they always pick the wrong time. It is so cold. So cold. But yeah, so I'm gonna go back and see Mr. Herbert this morning, and I'm gonna see if he'll let me do a video and of his place. I mean, incredible. This man is 80 something years old, and he ran to get this book like a 25-year-old. I was like, man, this dude can run better than me. And he's as old as my dad. I couldn't believe it. But it just goes to show you that eating nutrition that's not contaminated with pesticides is reverse aging. It's called My Story, How I Improved My Health. He said it's his last one. He's got to get more printed. And I promised him that I would return it, but it's only a few pages. But he talks about in here that he makes these teas that every day he says he has half a tomato, half avocado, 3 spinach leaves, 6 leaves of stevia, a half of a tablespoon of cinnamon powder, 1/2 of a lime, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of green apple vinegar, 1 tablespoon of miraculous powder. Now, his miraculous powder is dried and powdered blueberries, the leaves and the fruit, insulin leaves, passion fruit leaves, and moringa. And so he puts that and he drinks that every day. And he went from like on death's door. Like I was reading this. He was on 22 medicines. He was almost about to have a stroke. He'd had melanoma 30 something times. I mean, unbelievable. He was like really super sick. He was having heart failure and everything. And now this guy built literally 3 huge, him and a couple other guys built this whole hydroponic thing. And he's got hydroponic tubes going up like 12 feet tall. He put this cool system in where he used these recycled pressure washer, the square pressure washer tanks. He took those, he has them with clean water, and then he has ice that he incorporates into the water. He channels it up the walls, and then he has these huge fans that blow the cooled air into the system. I mean, I was like, man, I could tell that you're a German, this German engineering. Yeah, I want to do a video. So I was talking to him yesterday and we were having a great conversation, but then some people showed up and we had to cut it short. But he's like, don't forget to bring my book back. This is the last one I got. So I'm like, okay, I will. So I'm going to take him his soap and I'm going to see if he'll let me take some pictures and if I can make an appointment with him to interview him. And we'll put it on the other channel because hydroponics is going to be the way that we're going to have to do it. And he's right, because they've ruined the ground and they're spraying chemicals on us. And then they're monkeying with the weather. He lost his entire blueberry orchard. And he had acres and acres of matured blueberry trees. They were like 4 feet tall. And I'm like, well, maybe all's not lost, but we still had freeze last night. This genetically engineered weather, it's by design, is try to keep us from growing our own food. And it's not going to work. So I do have a greenhouse coming. It should be here today. But I'm going to put my greenhouse together. We're going to film it on the channel. We're going to try to learn how to do this Kratky garden on a budget, hillbilly engineering. I got a whole 5-gallon bucket of lava rocks for $8. And so I'm going to break those. I'm going to wash them, and then I'm going to break them down into smaller pieces. And I'm going to use like recycled yogurt cups and stuff like that to sit inside the jar. And you grow the seeds, and you just sprinkle the seeds on the top, and just a couple drops of Miracle Grow in the water. And so, we're going to learn to do all this stuff together, because we got to be self-sustainable. We got to learn to feed ourselves, because we're going to be screwed otherwise. So I'm going to cut this video short. It's 8 o'clock, and it's already been an hour, man. The time goes by quick. Thank you so much for doing the Daniel diet and caring about the planet. And I'll keep everybody updated on when we're gonna talk to Herbert Wallner. And the other thing he told me, it was really interesting, is that he told me that the German government offered him a contract to go down to South America. And he said that Cancun was building 6 hotels there. He set up a whole hydroponic farm for all these hotels, and that they don't have to outsource anything, that everything is grown on site. And the other thing he told me is that he said that the Chinese people came down there and was building a floating city on the Amazon River. And he said that they have destroyed it. So what the hell is going on? Why are they so determined to destroy the planet? And I did hear that they've been operating out of the ocean, underneath the sea, and that they're behind a lot of stuff that's been happening here, that they've got a lot of weapons. So I don't know how true that is, but maybe as we start really tuning in, we'll start getting some answers. So have a great day. Thanks for joining me this morning. Stay warm, guys. Stay warm. I love you all. And we'll try to catch up tonight or tomorrow night. And we'll see how everybody's doing. Y'all have a great day. Bye.